welcome to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Miller. I'm a stroke survivor and grateful recovering alcoholic. And today I wanted to talk to you about being grateful. I wanted to talk about daily gratefuls and the importance that I find in doing daily gratefuls, how they allow me to find gratitude in difficult things in my life and painful things and hard things, and how they help me turn negative things that may happen into a positive. And I have an excellent example of that happened earlier this evening. And I wanted to talk about finding gratitude in the way that something has happened, in the same way where it may seem like it was terrible, like my stroke, for example. But finding gratitude in the way that things happen because it could have happened differently. And how to find excuses for being grateful instead of finding excuses for being sad or pissed off or what have you. I don't think I've ever said what have you, but there you go. I even was reminded this morning in my morning meeting, we were talking about gratitude, and uh, I was thinking about the way that I quit smoking, as strangely as this relates to gratitude. But I've talked recently about how quitting smoking was a part. I added that to my program, my recovery program. After being sober for a couple years, I decided that if I can quit drinking with this program, then I can quit anything. So I decided to add smoking to it, and wouldn't you know it, I quit right away. It was way easier than quitting drinking, but that doesn't mean that I don't still love the smell of cigarettes. But anyway, my point is that what I started doing when I quit smoking, so I was at the point where I was vaping. So I quit smoking cigarettes by vaping. And then I started by decreasing the amount of nicotine in my vape down to, I think, I did it pretty slow. It might have been like every month I would drop it down by 3 milligrams or something like that, till I got to 3 milligrams. And then the next step was zero. So I switched to zero for probably a week. And then I was like, I mean, what's the point? There's no nicotine in here. So I just stopped doing it. And at that point, it was really a matter of, having something in my hand and being addicted to doing something, and trying not to replace that with eating, some sort of oral fixation. So what I would do is every time I wanted a cigarette, I would take a deep breath. And I shared this with my son, but this didn't work for him, but it certainly worked for me. So every time I wanted a cigarette, I would take a deep breath, and I would think about how amazing that felt, that when I was smoking cigarettes, I couldn't do that. I couldn't take a deep breath like all the way, down into the bottom of my lungs. So it felt so good to be able to do that finally. After having moved over to vaping, I was able to start doing that. And then putting down the vape entirely, it just felt good. And so I was able to, in a way, practice gratitude for how it felt. That was my reward, was being able to take a deep breath. And for me, I don't know, it just felt really good. I really kind of got a little addicted to the deep breath, and I still do it today. And gosh, I haven't smoked cigarettes or I haven't vaped, I should say, for like 5 years now or something like that. So anyway, any of you vapors out there, that's what worked for me. So, talking about practicing daily gratefuls, it takes. So, I started doing gratefuls when I first got sober. I wasn't terribly consistent with it, but that took practice for me to just simply remember to do it every day. What helped me to remember to do it every day was to do it at the exact same time every day. So once I started doing it right before bed, because all of my habits are right before bed, then I started doing it every day, and I did it all up until my head started hurting too bad for me to be on the phone. So then I just started doing gratefuls to myself, like when I say my prayers at night. So regardless, I'm still doing it. I'm just not sending them on a daily basis to my sponsees and my sponsor like I was. So the other thing about doing gratefuls every day is I I've gone through receiving gratefuls from people also over the years. And there are different kinds of gratefuls. And I wanted to try to articulate um, what I mean by lifting your gratefuls to a beneficial level. So I've received some gratefuls that are like, I'm grateful for um I'm grateful for my job. I'm grateful that I have a warm and safe home. I'm grateful for my niece coming to visit me, that kind of stuff. So it's almost like a recount of what crossed your mind today. So that's one level of gratefuls. And then there's another level of gratefuls where you're like, I'm grateful that I did not that I avoided a conflict with somebody today. That kind of thing. Like, this person made me mad. I'm grateful that I didn't lash out at them. That's another level of gratefuls. And then there's this level of gratefuls where you're not just recounting what you did that day, 3 things I did, and then I'm happy that it happened. But the way that I like to do my gratefuls, and I'm not great at it, this is just, practice, is to think of something that I'm grateful for and then spend the time that is necessary to really think about how that opportunity came about in my life. Um, like, oh dear, I'm on the spot. I don't know that I can think of an example right now, but uh yeah, let's say I have a safe, warm home. I'm going to do it on the spot. So, I have a safe, warm home. I am really grateful for having a safe, warm home. But if I were to actually take some time and think about my gratefuls, I could probably break down the idea that I have a safe, warm home. Why do I have a safe, warm home? Why do I have this opportunity to be in this safe, warm home? There's so many things in my life that led to this moment that I'm sitting here in this safe, warm home. It's that I was so fortunate to have this amazing man in my life, and that we have so much love that we've been able to stay together for, what's going to be, we calculated that the other day. It was 17 years. So we'll be going on 18 years, I think. Um, oh dear. I'm not going to calculate again. Anyway, we're right around that time. Um, but and I also had an amazing job where I was so fortunate to have people around me that respected me and gave me the opportunities that they did so that I could make the money that I made. And even though I had the stroke, and of course, disability pays me less than what I was making, I still wouldn't be making as much as I am had I not been given all those opportunities. You know what I mean? So there's all these pieces of my life that aligned, like the planets aligned, in order for me to be here sitting in this just absolutely cozy room in my safe warm house doing my podcast. So hopefully that explains what I mean by this like third level of gratefuls. That's what I try to practice. And I try to communicate that type of a gratitude practice with my sponsees as well. So it's all about like our thought pattern around gratefuls, and I really think it takes time, so not just rattling off three things that happened to you today and being grateful for them. Not there's nothing wrong with that, but being just recognizing as you're saying what those gratefuls are, what led to that, what opportunities and um all that stuff that led to that. So, uh, anyway, okay, so this is what happened to me today. Um, I didn't share about this. I think it was last week. My boyfriend and I were sitting on the couch and his cell phone rang. Okay. And it was a male individual, and he was claiming that my boyfriend had some credit card purchases in like another state, in Pennsylvania or something like that. So, knowing immediately that this was a scam call, and having my boyfriend and I were kind of in a good mood, and we were sitting there, and he had put the guy on speaker. So we just started to play around with this guy. Okay. And we were, he was saying like, "Oh yeah, we totally made those purchases." And the guy was like, "It was in Pennsylvania, and you live in Virginia." And he's like, "Yeah. That was my girlfriend. She's in Pennsylvania right now." And anyway, so the guy was like trying to, what he wanted to do was get my boyfriend's credit card number. So he was like, "So can you just verify the number of your credit card for me?" And so anyway, the call, so that first call, the guy determined that we were that my boyfriend was just playing with him. And so he ended up like cussing my boyfriend out and then hanging up the phone. Okay. So we both started cracking up because these people are horrible. I don't know what their lives are like. They can't be that great to have to be working this job where they're scamming innocent people, right? So that's all I'm going to say. Okay, so about 20 minutes later, the phone rang again from the same number. So he picked it up and put it on speakerphone again. And this time it was a different caller, and it was like he had almost the same script about he had made some purchases in Pennsylvania, and my boyfriend was like, "Yeah, yeah, we totally made those purchases." Anyway, so this happened, I think, like 8 times over the course of maybe a couple hours, like an hour and a half, maybe. The whoever these people are, they called about 8 times. And so every time they called, my boyfriend would do a different, a different, like, voice. So one time he answered and he has an awesome, Donald Trump, impersonation. So he was Donald Trump, and, the guy was like, "Did you make a purchase at, such and such company for over $1,000 or something?" And my boyfriend was like, "Yes, yes, I bought ventilators. I bought ventilators for the people, for the good people," or something. I can't do it, but he was being Donald Trump. And then the next time the guy called, uh, my boyfriend was Obama, and he was acting like he was calling Sasha and Malia into the room to ask them what credit card purchases they had made. And it was absolutely freaking hilarious. It was everything I could do to like just not crack up laughing in the background. But every time the people figured out that we were playing a trick on them, they would like cuss out my boyfriend, like terrible, terrible things they would say to him. And we were just started laughing. I mean, the longer we could keep the scammers on the phone, we felt like the less people they were scamming, if we were keeping them on the phone. So anyway, that happened about 8 times, I think. So today, my phone rang, and it was same deal. It was somebody who said that they were calling from the Publishers Clearinghouse. And I said, okay. And he said that I had won $7 million and a new car, and wanted to know if I was home so that they could bring it over. And I said, "I'm not telling you my location." And he was like, "Honey, we got your location," or something like that. "We got your address," or something. And I said, "Well, here's the thing. I don't believe you." And so when I said that, oh my gosh, he like lit me up. He said really nasty things to me about me and my puppy. I don't know why he would have to bring my puppy into this. But anyway, what I do have a point, and the point is that after that happened and I hung up, I was really spun up in my head about how the guy cussed me out. It wasn't as funny to me when he was cussing me out as it was when he was cussing my boyfriend out. Like it didn't make me laugh as much because it was like a personal attack. It just made me feel kind of icky to do it. And so a level of gratefuls. Here's not a great level of gratefuls for that experience, which is I'm grateful that I didn't cuss back, which I actually was pretty close to doing that, but they hang up on you so fast, um, which would not have been, what I should have done. And the another level of grateful is like I'm grateful for the peace and serenity that I have that allows me to let something like that go. So that's another level of gratefuls. And then there's another level, a deeper level of gratefuls, which I wanted to, as I kept kind of digging into my thought process around what had happened and being spun up about it, and I knew that my topic tonight was gratefuls, I thought, what is a way that I could turn this um, negative experience into a positive one? And what I determined for myself that was kind of a natural way for my thought process to go was that um, I'm grateful that I have the means to live the way that I do. Um, I'm grateful that I have the morals that I do and that I have a recovery program and guide for living that I do and that I'm sober so that I'm able to protect myself from people like that who are just out to scam me. I have my financial security now because I'm sober. So that's the work that I had to do in order to shift my mindset about that guy cussing me out. It's not it's never my fault that he cussed me out. I did egg him on for sure, because I just don't have any patience for somebody doing that to people. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's right for me to get so involved that I piss him off, but I don't know. To each his own about that. But anyway, that's for me a good example of how I have to spend a lot of time on gratefuls if I encounter a situation like that. So, also being grateful for, I mentioned the things that are hard and painful, not only because there's growth there, but also because I can find gratitude, like I said, in what didn't happen to me or what might have been. Um, when I first had my stroke, and even, up until recently, very, very recently, did I not really recognize that my stroke happened to affect my vision and affect my cognitive abilities on some level, just simply because of the location of my brain that I had my stroke in, the location where my brain cells have died. If it was anywhere else, it could have been anything else that could have happened to me. You know, it could have been anything. It could have taken my life depending on what part of my brain uh, was had the clot in it. Um, and so I need to find gratitude in the things that are hard because they could have been a whole lot more difficult. And so where do I find, where is the work to change my thought process? Um, how do I do it? I wanted to see if there was some way that I could articulate, well, how do you do that? How do you change somebody cussing you out to being grateful for being sober, and being present and being able to have the wherewithal um, to protect myself? How do I change my mindset? And it all comes down to my sobriety program and practicing the steps, because in the steps it's a methodical order in which we accept things the way that they are, find a higher power, whatever that is, whether it's God or not God, um, and then we go through the process of acknowledging our role in our relationships and in our lives. And then acknowledging, like, where do I owe an amends to somebody? Where did I actually take away value from somebody's life instead of adding it. And then getting the courage to uh, approach those people and talk about it. And so, all of these different steps that took me over a year to go through because I'm a slowpoke and I just wanted to. Some of it was procrastinating, and other times I really just needed to spend more time on it and think about it and try to understand what it meant in my life. Um, but practicing these steps and going through this over, over a year long process of working hard at making my life better is how I'm able to change my thought process today so easily. Um, I had to put that work in the beginning, and so I was thinking of just sharing. So for those of you who are not in a sobriety program, don't have a problem with alcohol, aren't a stroke survivor, I love that you're listening to the show because what I try to do is talk about real life things that all of us experience. I truly believe that we're all recovering from things that we encounter in our lives, and this is real stuff that I try to talk about. So there's a book called 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, which is a part of Alcoholics Anonymous. And this book talks about all the steps and how alcoholics start from the beginning, step one, where they realize their life is unmanageable, and they've got to do something about it. And then they figure out their higher power and all that stuff. But this book is more than that. It's not, a lot of us say in sobriety, if there was a guide for living for non-alcoholics, oh, it would be amazing, because I want all my loved ones to have this guide for living. So I just wanted to, for what it's worth, share that that's what the book is called. It's called The 12 and 12, 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. This is a supplementary book to what is called the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. That one has like uh, not only how the Alcoholics Anonymous program began, but lots of stories of alcoholics and the founders of the program and all that stuff. And there's just so much guidance in there. Somebody who's not an alcoholic would not necessarily be able to relate to a lot of that stuff about how alcoholics think because it really is, from what I understand, very foreign to people who are not addicts. But I try to translate what I've learned in the program into everyday life kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's where the work was for me to be able to change my thought process um, in any given situation. So I was reminded this morning in my sobriety meeting also to be grateful for times when I'm alone and finding the good in everything. I was also reminded that life isn't happening to me. I talk about that a lot. Life is just happening. And this morning when I woke up, I was really excited actually to spend the day alone. This is the first time I felt this. I kind of felt it a little bit yesterday, but yesterday I had my doctor's appointment, so I knew that I wasn't spending the whole day alone. But today I knew I had the whole day alone. And I had not a lot of plans. I needed to deal with all of my health insurance and disability insurance stuff still that I'm trying to figure out, and call my doctors and all that stuff. So, not a lot of hobby stuff was I doing today, but I was still looking forward to spending the day by myself. So that's a really positive change. And who knows if I'll feel the same tomorrow? I may not. But the fact that I woke up feeling hopeful this morning is pretty cool. It's definitely pretty cool. And today I also talked to my daughter on text. I talked to both my daughter and my son today on text, but my daughter, interestingly enough, was not aware that I had lost my job. I lost my job. I don't even know how to word it. Like, I went on long term disability. So my employment ended with my company, and I don't work there anymore. I'm not an employee anymore. I wasn't fired. I didn't quit. I just went on long term disability and we ended our professional relationship. Maybe I like saying it like that. But anyway, um, so she didn't realize that that was the case. She said, I thought you were just on long term disability. And I said, I explained to her, it's complicated, but no, I'm no longer employed with them. And she just had this outpouring of, Mom, I'm so, 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 so sorry. I know how much you loved that job. Um, that must be really hard for you. And I thought, number one, I could feel how much she understood, because I did love that job. I freaking loved that job. And so it was so nice to have somebody say that really understood how much I loved it, because she knew how much I loved the people. A lot of times when I would get on Teams calls, she would come around when she was home from school. She would come around and come say hi to whoever I was talking to, and they knew her, and she would give them an update on what's going on in her life and stuff like that. So she felt really bad for me, and I said, I have been really sad about it, and I've cried a lot, but I'm learning how to find the good in what's happening. And she said that, we came to a conclusion, both of us, that of course I'm going to find the good, because that's what Mom always does. And so that was an encouraging conversation, believe it or not, for me. And so I think what I've learned, or what's been reinforced for me today, is that I hear what I need to hear, uh, if I'm listening. I hear what I need to hear in my morning meeting, in my interactions with people throughout the day, whether they are my kids, my family, my friends, or strangers. I hear what I need to hear if I'm listening. And the way that I am able to listen now is by practicing gratitude. Practicing gratitude helps me to uh, to keep a mindset that is open. Yesterday, I talked about honesty and openness, and honesty and openness and willingness. And I'm able to do that as long as I have gratitude, and I'm able to see this different layer of the world around me, my environment, what's happening in my life. So that's what I have today. And yeah, so thanks for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow.